We discussed earlier that different entrepreneurs start up for different reasons. And one of the common elements is the desire to create value for stakeholders, including customers, employees, investors, society, and others. What are the elements of value creation for different stakeholders? Interestingly, while sometimes these may pull in different directions, in most cases, they align and reinforce each other. Let's take a look. The first driver of value creation is customer value. The startup's core thesis must revolve around the customer. What is the problem that you are trying to solve for the customer? And are customers willing to pay you for solving that problem? We will not go into the distinction of users versus customers yet, but needless to say that someone has to pay for the expenses of the startup. Assessment of the value of your product and service to the customer can often be tricky and deserves all the attention during early phases of your journey. Finding the right product market fit, indeed, is the first point of value creation. The second key element of value creation is scale. Once the initial customer value proposition has been established, the focus starts to shift to the scale question. How many customers are willing to use and pay for your solution? Does that create a large business? The question of how large is large enough often creates confusion, and that is where your aspiration and purpose of doing the startup comes in. As an entrepreneur, you might be fine creating a lifestyle business, and that is okay. If you are trying to access external venture financing, the scale thresholds for investors may run into hundreds of crores of revenue. In general, a fast-growing business with significant headroom for growth can attract more capital, which in turn can finance that growth. However, hypergrowth can also create disproportionate risks in the business. And entrepreneurs must index their level of growth aspirations with their risk appetite. Thirdly, commercial startups must be profitable to create value. For a non-profit venture, you may augment the profitability goal with measurement of impact. For many of the bootstrap businesses, profitability is never even a question. Where financing is available, the question of timing of profitability are debatable. However, every business must make a transition towards profitable growth over a period of time. Normally, there are different thresholds that can be progressively tracked on that path to profitability. First, does your revenue cover your direct costs to deliver the product or the service? Next, does your revenue cover your direct costs as well as your marketing and sales costs? And finally, does the scale of revenues now cover all the indirect and head office expenses? This final threshold brings financial viability to the business. Beyond revenue and profits, a key driver to value creation is defensibility. To create a truly valuable business, it is not enough to create a large profitable franchise. The true value that has been created depends on how defensible that business is. Is it possible for a new entrant to understand the opportunity you have created and quickly replicate it? Is it possible for someone to spend twice the money that you have spent and become a leader in your category? Or have you built moats in the business that bring more defensibility? There are several mechanisms to build these defenses. such as network effects, high operating leverage, control of supply resources, etc. We will cover some of these in subsequent modules. Finally, continuing to create value at scale requires sound governance and financial management. Large businesses have large risks embedded in them. At a certain stage of development, value preservation becomes as important as value creation. Elements of transparency and governance also become important as more and more stakeholders become involved and affected by your business, be it customers, regulators, partners, or shareholders. Do you as an entrepreneur understand when and how to bring in such controls and transparency? How do you yourself think about control versus participation in the business? These are important questions that may affect your operating model and the choice of partners from very early on. In summary, creating a valuable business requires great execution, but also the right thinking. In our future modules, we will discuss each of these topics in more detail. As an entrepreneur, you must make sure that you are focused on these value drivers throughout your startup journey.